Welcome back to Conversation with Buddy. I'm your host, Buddy Puckett. Hey, thank you so much for being here this week. You know, I never want to get tired of saying thank you, and I'm really grateful that you're here, that you show up each week, and I hope that these podcasts encourage you, inspire you. Hopefully they challenge you a little bit. So today we have a really awesome guest. I'd never met this guy before. I had heard of him before. He's actually maybe a famous guy. You may know who he is when I introduce him. But it's going to be a real exciting show. We're going to introduce a new song. So anyway, without further ado, let me introduce my friend, Bobby Spencer. Welcome, Bobby.
Thank you, buddy.
Man, thanks for being here.
Oh, it's really cool to be here. I just thank you for listening to my request. You know, when we were texting, I was like, hey.
Totally.
And we know each other through my brother-in-law.
Scott Suckley, man. Yeah. I love Scott, man. I've known Scott for probably 30 years. I don't know if he told you that.
Not that. He didn't tell me the extent of how long you've known each other. You said, I know this guy, and he's got this Christian podcast. But Scott's a great guy. He's a great husband, great brother-in-law, great human being.
Yeah. Well, Bobby, we got a lot to unpack today. I mean, you've done a few things, would you say?
I've been an entertainer. I've been given. I say it quite a lot. I've been blessed with all these gifts that God's given me, and He's given me He always gave me a good ear for music and for entertainment and love for it. Yeah. And it really started. I can remember as far back. You know, I was born in 1969, February 12th. Yeah. And
happy late birthday, man.
Thank you. And I don't remembering much of 69 to 1975, but I always say I remember in 1976 because I was 7 years old, and it was the 200th birthday of our great nation. Yep. And there was all these celebrations happening. And then right around that time, my father, who was in retail for over 42 years, at the time he was working with a company way back when called W.T. Grant. Okay. W.T. Grant went bankrupt. And suddenly my father was out of job. And then he got a job with Target. And so we had to load up 4 sisters and the baby boy, me,
You're
my mom and dad.
Of all 5 kids, man.
Yeah, I was. And we had that Oldsmobile yellow station wagon with the wood paneling and the luggage rack. And we drove from Willingboro, New Jersey to Plano, Texas. And this was the 70s. This was really that radio. Is because my mom and dad loved the 1950s music and the country music of Loretta Lynn and George Jones and Merle Haggard and Chris Christopherson.
Come on, man.
And then my sisters, and then the height of the 70s, you got to remember, it was my sisters on the radio, it was a plethora of like Barry Manilow, Dan Fogelberg, and then you had the Eagles, you had Fleetwood Mac, you had Lynyrd Skynyrd, and you had Peter Frampton, you know, and I was just drawn to music, and everybody in my family can sing. They never did it professionally, but and then I was always turning on the 60s station, though. It was always like the harmonies really is what caught my ears at a very young age. It was the Everly Brothers harmony. It was the Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young harmony, the Mamas and the Papas, and, of course, Lennon and McCartney harmonies. And eventually, when you're listening to those songs are constant rotation. Pretty soon, when you know "Can't Buy Me Love," and then pretty soon you're like, "Wait, what's that other part? Oh, that's McCartney singing harmony on top." Then pretty soon you're singing the harmony. Yeah. So the radio became my instrument, my teacher, and really when I got to Plano, Texas, and around 79, 80, 81 is really when I started playing music, playing drums. And singing more and starting to perform in plays. And I was mowing lawns in Texas to buy my first drum set, pay for my drum lessons. So
it sounds like your mom and dad taught you right. You're going to work for this. There's no free lunch.
Yeah, that's true. I was. But I came from a blue-collar family. I saw how hard my dad worked, and it rubbed off on me in the right way. Yeah,
no, I love that. Well, Bobby, we're going to talk about a lot of stuff. You know, before we dive too deep, you were talking about a couple years ago, you started intermittent fasting. Yeah. And I love that. I love health, number one. I want to be healthy, too, as I get older. Just give us a snippet on your fasting journey and what that did for you. I like the story. I want to hear more about it.
My whole career has been entertainment, and it's always been important to, look the best you can. Yeah. Whether you're on stage, whether you're being on a television shoot, you really should always just take care of yourself regardless. And in living in New York, it was easy because you walked everywhere. You walked everywhere.
Totally.
There's your calisthenics for the day. And 5-story walk up, too.
Yeah.
I mean, people go, how do you stay in such great shape? How do you stay so fit? Walking,
Yeah.
living in New York. But when we moved to Oregon, it's more driving. And this was, I was telling you earlier, this was during COVID. I kind of like everybody just kind of like, just fell down in the dumps and just kind of like, I don't care. And you just got lazy. And then one day I weighed myself and I was 184. And I was like, no, I was only 184 when I was lifting weights.
Come on.
And it was all here. It was all there. And I'd been doing seeing a lot of things coming up on my feed about fasting.
Yeah.
And I thought, that's what I need to do. I'm not going to lose this gush from the gym yet.
Right.
I need to fast. And I knew I was right. My gut was telling me, no pun intended, that
I know,
that was the right choice.
That's the right choice, yeah.
And so what I did, and this just for me, I'm not telling everybody to do this, but it was cold turkey.
Cold turkey.
And I was just drinking black coffee. And for 72 hours, it was water and black coffee, and that was it. And in that 72 hours reach, then what you want to eat is a plate of this. I know it sounds crazy, but it's not. Eggs, whether they're hard-boiled or scrambled or well over, it doesn't matter. Cottage cheese, sauerkraut, you need that for your gut health. Yep. Blueberries or any kind of watermelon or strawberries, and any kind of nut like walnuts or almonds or pecans.
Yeah.
That's your first meal you should have after you fast.
Come on.
And then I fasted another 72 hours right after that. So in a span of 12 days, I did this fasting. And then I went to the scale and I was 167. And I was like, whoa!
This stuff works, man.
It worked. But now I'm like, well, obviously that's too skinny.
Yeah.
But I knew that was the point now to go back to 3 regular square meals. And now I was working out and made a total difference in my energy and in my life.
Yeah.
And every morning for the past 2 years still, I have eggs, cottage cheese, and sauerkraut.
At 11, you said 11 a.m.?
Yeah, I don't really, I'm just having black coffee in the morning around 10 or 11 in the morning. Yeah. Because think about it, you go to bed like at 9 o'clock at night, and your body, if you can get all the way to 9 a.m., that's 12 hours right there. Right? So you've already fasted quite a ton. Yeah. And so I generally don't eat anything till like 10 or 11 a.m.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, there you have it, folks. If you want to learn how to lose some weight fast, I mean, I've known about it too. And I would say this here, with all the temptation, you're married, you have kids, the old lifestyle, how'd you fight against that? Because, your family has certain habits that you guys do. You eat out, you have this on Monday nights or whatever it is. How did you fight the craving of those foods?
I just had the sheer will.
Yeah. Well,
Absolutely.
you knew you had to because you felt like, hey, I'm way overweight.
Yeah. I didn't like the way that my stomach looked. I always had I was always in shape. I just was getting into my 50s wasn't an excuse to get lackadaisical.
You just turned 57, didn't you?
I did just turn 57.
I'm just a hair older than you, man.
Yeah?
So,
All right.
I'll be 58 in August, so.
Yes.
Too cool. Well, hey, let's dive in. We have a lot to unpack here.
Okay.
Hopefully for the next 3 hours or so hang tight. Let's talk about, we talked about where you grew up from New Jersey, moved to Texas. You want to pick up from there? Just kind of talk about those early years, what formed you? Because you said drums were your first instrument. Is that right?
Absolutely. Yeah, okay. 1981, I heard the song Tom Sawyer by the Canadian rock group Rush.
Come on.
When I heard that in the car, my mom was driving me to the pool in Texas, the swimming pool, and this song came on, and I was like, what is this? I never heard anything like that before. And that summer, it was the number one song the summer. And when she picked me up at the pool like 3 hours later, and I get in the car, she always let me turn on whatever station I wanted to, by the way. She was like, because she didn't have a babysitter. And she was like, you're getting in the car, we got to run errands, but you can listen to whatever radio station you want. So I did. And that song, Tom Sawyer by Rush, came on again. By the time we pulled up in our driveway, the song was done. She turned off the car, and I looked at her and I said, Mom, I want to play drums. Wow. And she looked at me, and I'll never forget it. She just paused for a second, but she knew that I was serious. And she said, okay.
You're 7.
I was probably 12 or 13 at the time.
Because you moved to Texas when you're 7.
Yeah, well, it was New Jersey, it was Minnesota, then Texas, Oklahoma, Pennsylvania, Virginia, Maryland. Yeah, we moved around a lot, but Texas was really where we grew up.
Okay.
The majority of my childhood growing up was Texas.
Okay, we're going to fast forward to how you met this girl, Jenny, because I want to hear how, I mean, that doesn't happen by accident, but what was high school like for you? Did you like high school? Did you hate high school?
I was the mayor. I got along with everybody.
Okay, the mayor.
I saw your former podcast of that redheaded lady named Danny, and when she was talking, I was like, that sounds like me. She got along with the geeks, with the jocks, with the metalheads.
Come on.
I really got along with everybody. I really, I had moments where I had like bullying, I had to take care of myself, but for the majority of the time, I really did my best to just like love everybody. And I guess I was the mayor.
The mayor, I love that.
So, yeah. And, but I didn't know what I wanted to do. And my counselor was the one that was like, well, Bobby, you sing, you play drums, you are in all the musicals, you should go to college for that. And I was like, oh, okay, where should I go? And I was living in York, Pennsylvania at the time. And he goes, here's a pamphlet for Shenandoah Conservatory, which was in Winchester, Virginia, 2.5 hours down the road. He was like, it's far enough from home, but not too far if you need your mom and dad. I was like, that's a good point. And so I auditioned. I did 2 monologues, did a couple songs, and I got into the conservatory, and it changed my life. It was so exciting to be there and just focus on the craft. Just focus on acting and singing and dancing. And it molded me and got me ready to move to New York. So my first job was not New York. My first job was working on a cruise ship to save money to move to New York. So I was singing and dancing on a cruise ship in the Caribbean for 7 months. I had $9,000 saved. I go to New York City. And in about 3 months, I'm just auditioning, because I'm like, I don't want to wait tables. That's why I saved that money.
Yeah.
And in 3 months, $9,000 was gone. I had $200 left, and I got the national tour of Cats, playing Rum Tum Tugger, the rock and roll cat. They were back in the day. It was like 1994 that I got that tour, I think. I was making $2,500 a week.
Come on.
Plus $800 free room and board extra. It was a gold mine. And then we traveled all over the country, all these great, beautiful performing arts centers. So that was incredible. So it was interesting because I love being on the road and traveling with my family. It just wasn't like, it was like home to me, just getting on a tour bus and just keep going. Yeah. And then I get to New York. I have all this money saved from Cats. Same thing, auditioning. And then I auditioned for a show called Sideshow in 1996, which was written by the writer and musical writer of Dreamgirls. If a lot of people know the musical Dreamgirls, they made a film of it that starred Beyonce and Jennifer Hudson, who won the Oscar for it many years ago. But Dreamgirls was like, Henry Krieger wrote this new show called Sideshow about a freak show in the vaudeville era, a true story about Daisy and Violet Hilton, who were twins joined at the hips. Yeah. And the show closed after 3 months, but the music was extraordinary. The book was amazing. And I auditioned, and I got it, and that's where I met Jenny. She was in the ensemble of this show. She had just been in the show Chicago on Broadway, working opposite Annie Reiking, Bebe Neuwirth, Joel Grey, James Naughton, all these heavy hitters. Yeah. And now she's in Sideshow, and opens in October of 96, closes in January of 97, and we just stayed together ever since. And through those 7 years, from 97 till 2004, was before I got my next Broadway show. Yeah. She was doing the next Broadway show, Annie Get Your Gun, with Reba McEntire, and Bernadette Peters was in the role of Annie Oakley, and Tom Wopat, and then she did Fosse and The Producers, which you saw her in
2003.
At some point.
That was great.
But I was doing workshops and new musicals, and I'd go on tour with this show. And so I was, as an artist, consistently working, but I just couldn't get that next Broadway gig until I got a phone call. I was in L.A., and we had left New York sometime after September 11th because we had just gotten married. And Jenny was out there working in California at the La Jolla Playhouse. Yeah. And she said, I really like it out here. Maybe because of what happened with 9/11, we should try it.
Just real quick, you guys were in New York City during 9/11?
I was in Nashville doing a new show about the life story of Tammy Wynette and George Jones. I was actually playing, I had got cast because I could play drums, I could play guitar, and it was a 7-piece band, and then the George and the Tammy. So the 7 of us musicians, I was the only New York guy. Everybody else was Nashville. And this is incredible, actually. This is one of my favorite highlights of my career, and the one I hold and cherish most. is we performed at the Ryman Auditorium, the actual Grand Ole Opry, for 6 months. Can you imagine me loving country music and loving music, and knowing that I was on the same stage as where Loretta Lynn had stood, where George Jones had stood, Merle Haggard, Chris Christopherson, Willie Nelson, and there we were, and we were the toast of town, and we were going to go to Broadway. And then 9/11 happened, and no one was going to New York. Everybody was like scared. All the producers, all the financiers were like, nope, because no one knew what was going to happen to our world. And because of that, Jenny was in California doing a show, and she said, let's move out here. So we're out there, and I'm out there for 2 years and walking dogs on the beach, and nothing's happening. And I'm taking this improv class, and I'm waiting tables, and I'm walking dogs on the beach, and I'm writing scripts with my friends, and we're doing everything very indie style. And then I get a call from my agent going, hey, they want to see you for this show about Frankie Valli and the Four Seasons called Jersey Boys. And I was like, I don't want to do a jukebox musical. And she was like, Bobby,
come on.
She goes, Des McAnuff is directing this. He won the Tony Award for the show Big River. I was like, written by, the iconic, country guy, George Miller. Well, no kidding. Okay. And Roger Miller. And Marshall Brickman, who won the Oscar for writing Annie Hall with Woody Allen, wrote the script. So I was like, okay, those are two huge names. Yeah. And when I read the script, it was like VH1 Behind the Music meets The Sopranos. And of course, I knew all their hits because I was hearing them on the radio growing up. I knew Big Girls Don't Cry, Sherry Baby, Walk Like a Man, My Eyes Adored You, Can't Take My Eyes Off of You, Oh What a Night. So I listened for 2 weeks, I prepared for that audition, and I watched Soprano episodes to get the Jersey accent, and I walk in for the role of Tommy DeVito, who was the guitar player of the Four Seasons, but I did something funny. And the director goes, you know what, actually, I want you to read for Nick Massey, the bass player of the Four Seasons. So he hands me the sides for Nicky, and I go out in the hallway, and I read the 2 monologues they want me to do, and I'm like, oh, this is my guy. And I knock on the door, and I open the door, and Des is eating a sandwich, because literally it was like 2 minutes, and all I did was glance at these. I was like, I know it. And I said, I'm ready. And he was like, oh, you're ready? And I did the 2 Nicky monologues, and he comes around the table, and he puts his arm around me, and he goes, what are you doing the next 6 months? And I call my wife, and I go, I just got the lead in a Broadway show. We weren't going to Broadway, but I knew it was gonna go to Broadway. We went to La Jolla, California. We were the toast of town. We went to Broadway. We won the Grammy. We won the Tony Award for Best Musical. And we would come out that stage door, and it was like the Beatles. The street on 52nd Street was thousands. I'm talking hundreds and thousands of fans were waiting for our pictures and autographs after that show. I'd never seen anything like it or experienced anything like it.
Well, did you ever feel like you ever arrived in your career, or was there peaks? Was that a peak?
Oh,
was
yeah.
that the peak? Or was there other peaks?
Peak.
That was the peak.
That was a big peak.
Wow.
And that was 2004 until 2008 and a half that I was doing that gig. But also, it was incredible because every star and rock star was coming to this hot show. Yeah. So backstage, you'd be meeting Steve Martin, Martin Short, Kurt Russell, Goldie Hawn, oh gosh, everybody, Billy Crystal, everybody was coming. Keith Urban, Nicole Kidman. Everybody was coming to that show. Rock stars was like Paul Stanley, Peter Criss of Kiss.
Yeah.
Olivia Newton-John. John Travolta came. Cliff Richards, the British star.
Yeah.
Bruce Willis came with his family.
Yeah.
I mean, it goes on and on. It was just so amazing to be on stage, to perform for the people that you grew up watching. All of a sudden, they're watching you. It was pretty surreal. Phil Collins, the drummer of Genesis, one of my idols, was in the 4th row. And I'll never forget, he was like, I could see him because where I was located on stage, there were certain house seats where they would put like President Clinton.
Yeah, yeah.
And Senator Kennedy came once. And over here would be like the rock star section. Stevie Van Zandt came. Bruce Springsteen came. But one night, Phil Collins, I could see him. I was like, oh my gosh, it's Phil Collins. And he was tapping his foot. You could see him. So then a week later, we were performing at this fancy private function, and the writer of Jersey Boys comes in with Phil Collins to our dressing room, and he goes, "Guys, Phil Collins wants to meet you." And he was just like,
"You're kidding me."
He was like, "Oh, you guys, you're so incredible. I can't believe this." And I was like, "Oh my gosh." And I said, "I saw you in the crowd, man. I saw you rocking out." And he goes, "No, I wasn't."
No, you
and I
were.
go, "No, I did. I saw you rocking out." He goes, "No, I stayed for the whole thing." And I said, "Not walking out, rocking out."
Oh, no way.
His hearing. He was like, "Oh, I couldn't." Okay, yes, I was rocking out. I was rocking out. And then there was this opening night party, and there was Phil Collins, and I ran over to him, got a great picture with him. But we talked for about 5 minutes. He was so cool, and he goes, "You guys are so amazing." He goes, "You're going to win every award. I want you to know you're going to win every award, and you deserve it." And then his phone rings. He goes, "It's my daughter. I got to take this." And he left. And then
that's so cool.
I was just like, I'm ready to go. I didn't need to stay at the party any longer. I was like, just talk to Phil Collins, man. That's all I needed. Yeah.
Man,
little moments like that.
It's funny. So my wife and I went to New York City. She'd gone in 2001. She was there a month before 9/11 in August. And she was at the top of the World Trade Center with her mom having, sightseeing or whatever, dinner or whatever. Well, 9/11 happens. And then a couple years later, she's like, "You need to come with me to New York. I'd never been." Well, Scott connected us with your sister, got us really good seats, watched the producers, totally amazing. Then she took us backstage, and then we walked out with her, and there's all these people waiting to see the Jenny Linds, and I felt like for a moment I was like famous, that like people that are watching, it was really cool. So I kind of get a glimpse of what you're feeling, but I can't imagine having Phil Collins come backstage and tell you you guys are going to win everything.
Yeah.
Wow. All right.
It was always an inspiring night.
Totally. Tell me, you met Jenny. When did you guys get married?
In 2001. In July of 2001, and then right after we got married, we both got these great shows and opportunities.
Thank God you
She was in
there.
LA. I know that we say it all the time.
Oh my gosh!
Even though we had an apartment way up on 181st Street.
Yeah, far away.
Still, I mean, that was way, way, way downtown. But still, we say it all the time. We go, "I'm so glad we weren't there."
Where'd you guys get married at?
In Bend, Oregon, on her grandparents' horse ranch.
Bend, Oregon. I know exactly where that's at.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they've since passed, but I should clarify. We had all the celebration on the horse ranch. We got married somewhere down the lane in Bend, Oregon, like at a big old golf course, old beautiful, surrounded by the mountains.
Yeah,
it was beautiful.
Wow,
yeah,
very cool. So you guys have been married now for
25
years,
coming up on 25.
25 years. That's right. So July
coming up on 25.
25 years. Congrats.
Thanks.
It's pretty cool. This is great. Okay, so. Keep going, man.
Well, I'll keep going with when it comes to the musician side of me.
Yeah.
Throughout the hard unemployment times for those 7 years
Right.
between Sideshow closing, before I got Jersey Boys, like I said, I was in a workshop of this show that was supposed to go to Broadway. I did Finian's Rainbow. I was playing Woody, who gets to sing "Old Devil Moon, Deep in Your Eyes," one of my favorite songs, covered by the great Sinatra and Dean Martin and
Come on.
so many others. But they lost money, so that didn't go to Broadway. So all that stuff, I was down in the subway playing this guitar. And I was collecting unemployment, but I also would open up the guitar case and I'd play, and I'd just keep practicing that guitar like 3-4 hours a day. So that was an extra like $80 every now and then on top of the $420 that we were getting of unemployment. And why not?
And you're practicing.
And I'm practicing my guitar.
Man. It takes 3 or 4 hours a day to do that.
Yeah. So musically, I was still doing music. I was still writing music. I was recording music, all between this, But in 2008 and a half, I did a workshop of a show called Next to Normal.
Yeah.
It was being directed by Michael Greif, who was famous for the show Rent.
Okay.
And Rent was like the huge thing. Like what Hair was in the 60s, Rent was to the 90s. And when I knew Michael Greif was doing this show called Next to Normal, I was like, oh, I definitely want to do this workshop. And it was a rock opera about bipolar depression. And of course, I was like, what? Not knowing much about it. But then through it, you do dramaturg, you learn about bipolar. And Brian and Tom, who wrote the show, they wrote it because they were working together. And this goes far back. They were doing a workshop at ASCAP, which is the songwriting union, and they had to do a 30-minute something. And Brian had just seen this thing on 60 Minutes about bipolar depression. He says to Tom, I know this is going to sound crazy, but what if we tried doing a musical about bipolar? And he explained the 60 Minutes episode he saw. And lo and behold, this show, I was originally cast in the workshop as the therapist. There's only 5 people in the show, the husband, the wife, the son, the daughter, the boyfriend, and the therapist. So there's 6.
Okay.
And so I'm the therapist, and the woman playing the wife was Alice Ripley, who was the star of Sideshow that I did back in 1996. Hadn't seen her all this time. Now we're together again, years later,
That's
older.
So wild, man.
And the show got such great response in that workshop that they were moving it to Washington, D.C. 3 months later to do an out-of-town tryout because they wanted to go to Broadway. David Stone was producing. He had produced Wicked. That's all I got to say. Wicked on Broadway, the film.
Saw New York, yeah.
So Brian Darcy James, a very well-known Broadway star and actor, was the husband originally. I bumped into him on the street because in 2008 and a half, Jersey Boys said, we're not going to renew y'all's contracts because they wanted to clean house.
Okay.
They didn't want to pay what they were the original stars anymore.
Right.
And now I'm walking the street the next day like, what am I going to do? Boom. I literally bump into Brian Darcy James, tell him that they're letting us go.
Yeah.
I got to find a new gig. And Brian goes, Bobby, I'm leaving to do Shrek, and they're looking to take Next to Normal to DC to come to Broadway. You should go in and call them. So I called them and I said, I want to be seen for the husband, not the therapist.
Yeah.
I auditioned for the husband. I got the husband. The show goes, it blows the reviews off the top in DC. We go to New York. It wins the Pulitzer Prize. I was nominated for a Tony Award for Best Leading Actor of a Musical. And again, that just changed my life again. It showed people to go from Nick Massey of the Four Seasons to this dramatic rock opera about bipolar depression. But what was even more gratifying about it, honestly, was the human connection, because I was just listening to it and approaching it as an artist, doing my job as an artist, connecting the dots as an artist. But when I walked out the stage door, there were so many people. This is when my eyes were truly opened. They would say, I would have husbands come up to me and go, thank you. You just told my life story. My wife has bipolar depression. I would have children come up to me who are now, adults saying, my mom had bipolar dysfunction. My dad did.
Yeah.
Hugh Jackman, Wolverine, Hugh Jackman and his wife came to the show. And the next evening, we were performing at this event that he was hosting. And he and his wife ran to me. And they said, we just saw your show last night. And he said, my mother had bipolar depression. And I was like, wow. And he said, and watching your performance was like, I was watching me and my dad. I mean, stuff like that, I had no idea.
The question, though, you mentioned bipolar. Is it more affected by women, or women more affected, or men?
That's a good question. I wouldn't be able to answer that. I just know that it works both ways.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. There's a section in the show where the wife who has the bipolar and being the husband, he's just trying to be the knight in shining armor. He's trying to be the rock, like all men do.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's a moment where she's making sandwiches on the kitchen floor. And I literally had someone go, my mom made sandwiches on the floor. I was like, oh my gosh, it was insane. But I want to just, and then I'll stop talking about this. But what happened is that I did that 16 years ago. And in June of last year, I get a phone call from a producer in Buenos Aires named Pablo. And Pablo and I'd done some concerts with him over in Buenos Aires years ago. And he calls me, and I'm on a cruise ship doing a gig. And he goes, Bobby, I want to bring you and Alice back. We're doing Broadway Comes to Buenos Aires. We're doing a new version of Next to Normal. We want you to revive your roles. And I thought, yes, absolutely. So it was Alice and I, quote unquote, we were the originals, but quote unquote, the stars, whatever. And we were with this beautiful Argentinian cast, talented kid that played my son, my daughter, the boyfriend.
Yeah.
And it was this immersive version. So it was only sat 150 people who sat as close as you and I are sitting right now.
Yeah.
And to go back to that role 16 years later, after 16 years of all these added layers in my life, of, you know, going through the funk of COVID, the funk of my dad dying, this depression, finding God here and there, and, you know, throughout all of this turmoil, trying to withstand the troubling waters when COVID hit, because we had 50 concerts booked moving forward as a group. I have a group called the Midtown Men, which is the original Jersey Boys. We started that right after I did Next to Normal on Broadway in 2010. And we did the Mamas and the Papas, the Turtles, the Zombies, the Rascals, Motown, Buffalo Springfield, the Monkees, the Beatles, and of course, Frankie Valli and the Four Seasons. And people like came to see us with a 7-piece band. It is an incredible night of entertainment, of variety. And COVID took it away. Yeah. And we haven't been able to resurrect since. We went from 50 to 60 shows a year to 6 last year. So finding our footing again financially has been a real challenge. So to have the opportunity to go back to revisit a role after having gone through all of that stuff, and now I'm Dan Goodman again in Next to Normal, but 16 years added to that, I felt more confident in more the role than I ever had before. And the love from the Argentinian audience, it's the number one show. It's been the number one show Next to Normal in Argentina for the last 12 years.
Wow.
Which is incredible. So people would come up to me and go, "So you're the guy on Spotify?" And I go, "Yeah." And they go, "That's you?"
Yeah.
I go, "Yeah, that's me." Yeah.
Is that so weird, man?
It's weird.
Yeah. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Hey, we're going to dive into a lot of things, but when did you become a believer? Tell me that.
Well, I can tell you that, you know, sometimes I want to be honest, and it's hard to not feel hypocritical sometimes, because you can have these moments and then you fall off the path and then you got to get back on it again. And I look back, and I had a lot of time over COVID to really think and ponder and really dive deep and just think, gosh, I wish I hadn't done that. Gosh, I wish I hadn't taken that for granted. I can tell you that my first memory goes all the way back to being a kid being baptized. And I really don't remember, like I said, much before 76, but for some reason I had this image, and whenever I tell the story, my mother goes, "That's right." I had the white robe on. I was a little kid walking down the aisle of this church. I can remember people in the pews looking back at me as I walked down the aisle. You know, when little kids are so cute, you know, walking down any aisle, whether it's a wedding or the church. So I could see just nothing but smiles. I can remember being up there. I can remember having oil poured on my head. I can remember all of it. I can remember being at church camp for 2 weeks, and every day, I was 13, and every day the counselors would pray morning, noon, and night. I remember when I got there, I remember my gosh, they pray a lot. And when I came back 2 weeks later, it was like total change for me. I can remember in 2001, 9/11 happened. I'm in Nashville. My wife's in California. And that whole week on the TV, it's just like you're watching all that footage and all the people that are missing. You're watching all that. And at the end of the week, I had this absolute breakdown. And I called my pastor in New York, Pastor Carl and Pastor Donna, this lovely husband and wife team. I'm getting ahead of myself. I first met them when I moved to New York, and I went to their awesome church in Brooklyn. And at the time, I had really long hair and a beard, and so they cast me as Jesus in their Easter production.
Natural, right?
It was amazing to do that.
Cool.
I'll get back to the 2001, but this was right when I got there. I went to this open call to just play Jesus in this Easter celebration at this church. This church, I'm not kidding you, put on this show. They had wires that raised me at the resurrection. This huge, amazing Latino choir. They had a band, original music. And there was this moment where I had this cross, and this place sat 2,500 people. It was the Love Chapel called in Brooklyn. It had like a dome. And I can remember carrying this huge, heavy cross at this part. You know, we go through Jesus' teachings, King Herod, Pontius Pilate, all this stuff, Judas. And now I'm at the crucifixion. And I can remember so vividly people crying. I can remember myself crying. I can remember people crying and sobbing as my portrayal of the King of Kings is taking that cross down there. And then we put the cross on the thing. And then I get into the tomb and we're wiping off the blood. We're hooking me up to the wires, you know, and they're singing this beautiful song. And then he is alive. And then the tomb, I kicked the rocks open. They had flame at the stage like a Kiss concert. It was like, whoo. And when I came out as Jesus and they had this Peter Pan and they raised me, that congregation of those 3 different shows were like, wow. So I really stayed with Pastor Carl and Donna every Sunday, my whole time in New York. Eventually, when I met Jenny, you know, we all were with, you know, them the whole way until we left New York. So now it's 2001, September 11th. I call them. I'm in Nashville in my apartment that I'm in, that they put me in. And I'm an emotional wreck. And I call, but this, interesting enough, a pastor from Oregon picks up the phone in New York City. And I go, I want to talk to Pastor Carl. He's like, he's down at ground zero right now. What can I help you with? His name is Mike. And I said, I really need to talk to Pastor Carl. And he immediately started, I guess, preaching. And it turned me off. I said, see, this is why. I was like, you're preaching. I just want to talk to someone. I want to talk to someone. See, Pastor Carl talks to me. Much like I feel like Pastor Brett at Athey, who we found like several years ago, that's the connection I have with him. That's like, there's a preach, but there's a talk, man. There's like a down-to-earthness going on. And that's what I needed. So then this guy, Preacher Mike, just switched gears and he just got to the talking level. So then we pray. I get off the phone and I literally said, Lord, I know you hear us. I know you hear us when we pray, but I really need to know that you're hearing me tonight. I really need to know that things are going to be all right. I was like, burn a bush, send an angel, send me something, please. And I went, Jesus Christ, I pray, amen. And I lay down in that bed, and in about a minute or so, I sat up going, and the light bulb went like 1,000,000 watts. Like that was the burning bush. The light bulb went, I'm not even making any of this up. It went, whoo, and when I sat up, it's like I couldn't breathe, but I was breathing. But it was like someone was sucking the breath out of me, and it felt like someone was tickling my heart. You know when you cut yourself, you pour peroxide on it and it bubbles? That's how my heart felt. And I remember jumping out of bed going, that's what I'm talking about. Yes, that's what I'm talking about. And I called my wife crying in tears of joy, like, you are not going to believe what just happened. So there's all these like moments. And then I can say in 2004, I'm on my knees in my apartment in LA. I'm alone. And I'm like, I've paid my dues. I want a Broadway show. Come on, God. I don't, da, da, da. And I'm ranting. And I'm ranting for a long time. I can honestly say 40 minutes, an hour. I'm alone. I'm just ranting. And then I finally heard, okay, shut up.
Inaudible.
I did.
Yeah.
And I went, okay. And then I got Jersey Boys 2 weeks later. And then we're in Argentina, you know, and like I just said, like 5 months ago. And Alice and I say to the cast before every rehearsal, hey, everybody, we're going to have a prayer circle. And everybody in the cast and crew were like, what? And Alice and I were like, no, we're going to have a prayer circle. You know, it's like, I'm not here to judge. I'm just here to bring the light. You can make the decision for yourself, but I'm going to bring the light. We're going to bring the light. And so we would hold hands and we would pray. And pretty soon, someone in the cast from Argentina would go, hey, Bobby, can I lead prayer tonight? I was like, yeah, man, do it.
Come on.
And this woman was like, can I lead prayer? So we did it every night. And what ended up happening more so is that the show was at 8 o'clock. We would meet at 7 o'clock in a dressing room, all of us, the whole cast and a couple crew, and our director, and it turned into, how was your day? Mm. And some people like, I had a great day.
Yeah.
And some people like crying, like, I had a horrible day. And it turned into this like therapeutic moment for all of us just to shed it. And then around 7:25, we're like, oh, we got a half-hour call at 7:30. So then we would at 7:25 hold hands and we'd pray. And one night, this girl, her name is Mika, was going through a lot of stuff. And every day we try to lift her up, and she was just really, really going through some difficulties. And then one day she comes in, she goes, man, I had a great day today. I had a great day. And she was talking about her great day. And of course, it's like, oh, we got to get ready for the show. Bobby, you pray. And they always wanted me to because I was the dad, you know?
It was you that started it too, right?
Alice and I, yeah. I did, but then Alice came like a week later.
Yeah.
I came early, she came a week later, and then she was like, we need to pray. I was like, yeah, we got to pray.
Okay.
We got to pray.
All right.
And in the middle of this prayer, we were holding hands, and I didn't plan anything. I never plan anything. You know, you just try to speak what comes to you.
Amen.
And based on the fact that Mika had such down and outs, and this day was feeling up, as we're holding hands, I just said, it just goes to show, you know, when you're feeling kind of low, that's when God says, here you go. Jesus Christ, pray, amen. Amen. And then someone goes, Bobby, that's a song right there. But before they said it in my head, when I said it, I was like, oh, that's a song. And then they're like, Bobby, that's a song right there. And I said, yeah, I think it might be. And the next morning, I wake up, and every morning I make my pot of coffee.
Yeah.
I pulled out my guitar, and I started strumming it, and I wrote this song called That's When God Says, Here You Go. And I wrote this song, and I actually brought it, this is it right here, everybody can see that. Yeah. Like, that's all the scribbles, that's all the like cut, oh, I'm gonna move this up here, that goes down there, no. And so I sit down, and technically it's my first worship song. I've written a lot of songs. And so I get done writing this thing, and I put it aside, and I go, I was like, wow. I was like, am I going in the right direction? I want to make sure this is about focusing on God, not focusing on me. Look what I did. And again, this was like another God moment. You know, it's like, wow, this song pumped out in like an hour. So I put it aside. 2 days later, I was like, I better get on that song again before I forget the melody and everything. So I pick it up, and I go back, and I'm like, I get to the third verse, and I'm like, I really want the third verse to really send like the last message. And I go to Siri. I'm like, Siri, quotes from the Bible about, you know, this. Show me quotes in the Bible about, you know, this or this. I can't recall what it verbatim it was. And then something from Deuteronomy came up, something from Matthew came up, something from John came up. So when you get to the last verse of my song, there's a little bit of Matthew, a little bit of Deuteronomy. I don't know which what, but when you go, so acknowledge and take heart this day that the Lord in heaven is the only way. That's a quote from the Bible right there. Praise his name among the nations sing. There you go. That's from the Bible. Don't let your heart be troubled or afraid. Start today. And so I wrote it. I went and I videotaped it, performing it for the cast. I go, guys, our prayer tonight is I want to share this song with you. Mm-hmm. When I got done playing it, everybody was like, that's the prayer from the other night, man. Did you really write? Bobby, that song is so good. And I sent it to my friend, Pastor Rob. I've known Rob now going on 6 years. Yeah. We met during COVID. He was having a men's meeting with guys that were going through stuff. And I met Rob because I was in New York during this whole, during the turmoil of COVID. I'd gone back to New York to audition for a couple things. And I was watching Athey Creek on a Sunday on YouTube. And I was just feeling down. And at the end of every Athey Creek, they go, if you're feeling down and out, you want to talk to someone, give us a call. And I left a message on their voicemail. And on Monday, I get this phone call from this guy named Pastor Rob. Hi, this is Pastor Rob. Is this Bobby? Is this Robert Spencer? Yeah, I got your message. I just want to know if you... And we got to talking. And I consider him one of my closest friends now. And we started meeting every Thursday in Oregon City with this other group of guys, 6 of us, came like a little club. And I sent Rob that video of me playing that song. And I said, Rob, I want you to listen to this song, and I want you just to tell me if it's okay. Make sure the lyrics are right, that I'm worshiping God the right way, please, you know. And he writes me back, and he goes, his wife Teresa, and he goes, Bobby, Teresa and I want to, how did he word it? We want to help you with this song. Whatever you need from us, we want to help provide funds to make this happen. I was like, what are you talking about? I just want to know if you...
Do you like it or not?
Did you like the song or the lyrics right? He goes, no, we love it. He's like, but if you want to record it, we'll pay for it. Whatever you need, if you need to get photographs taken, we'll pay for it. I was like, I didn't ask for that. But it was just such a beautiful moment for them to be that way. And I guess the song, you know, really affected them that way. And for me, as a songwriter, there was this little inkling of, people are going to think this is too preachy. I sent it to a Nashville guy that I've worked with who writes a lot of Nashville hits. Yeah. And one of the first things he wrote back in his little critiques was, be afraid. And he said, be careful of it being too preachy. I said, but see, I listen to Christian music. My daughter, when she turns on, my wife turns on the radio, it's either Christian music or country.
Yeah. Here too, man. All day.
And I've heard way more preacher songs on the Christian rock station than this. Yeah. So, and again, it always comes to, look, people are going to dig my songs or they're not going to dig them. It's not going to matter if the message...
It's going to honor God, or, you know, if it honors God, and that's all we need to know anyway.
That's right.
You know, God will get it to the people he needs to get it to.
That's right. So that's my hope. So the reason that we're talking today is because I've been like, I'm going to release this song. Yeah. I recorded it in Buenos Aires.
Come on.
I went to a performing arts high school to do a workshop. And while I was there, my music director, Thomas, out there in Argentina said, Bobby, they have a professional studio. Let's record your song today. So I go in there, lay down guitar. He lays down piano. I needed a high harmony. And I say to Facundo, who's the engineer, I go, Facundo, you got it. We're in a performing arts high school, man. Get me a female singer who can sing the high notes. And he goes, I know the perfect girl. Go around, they're doing choir rehearsal. And he goes, Maria. So Maria comes in and I go, hey, I'm Bobby Spencer. She goes, I know who you are. Because I'm next to normal.
Yeah, next to normal.
So I'm teaching her on the spot the harmony to this song. And it's as if we had been singing together forever. I couldn't believe our blend. I couldn't believe her angelic sound. So we did it there, mix it. And I get back here and I'm praying to God, because now I got to do like the cover art.
Sure.
And I keep like, you know, I was like, God, I just want a shack. I want like a distressed shack that has a cross. Can you find me a shack? And in hard times, I've had to find a job driving at Amazon. I'm really blessed that the job came, because when you have nothing but acting and singing on your resume, I couldn't find a job selling mattresses or solar panels or windows. I'm a salesman. I sell myself my whole life. Finally, Amazon takes me on. And in the middle of Christmas of 2025, this song is mixed, and now I'm thinking ahead. I'm like, I'm going to release this before Easter. I don't want to rush this. I prayed about it. I was like, God, when should I release this? And I heard Easter, and I was like, yeah, that makes the most sense, doesn't it?
Makes perfect sense.
I got time, figure out the cover art, and as I'm driving, I'm delivering in the back roads, and all this time I'm like, just God, send me a shack. Send me a broken down shack or something. So I literally deliver to this one house, and next to this, and on the patio, on the porch, there's all these Bible quotes, you know, that you would find in like Home Goods, or you'd find, you know, in all those Christian stores. Proverbs, you know, this, and like John, this. Yeah. And I'm like, oh, these are Christians. Next to them is this shack. It's distressed wood, and it's got an A-frame, and in the middle of the A-frame is just a simple cross, like you'd see like in like the old vampire movies, just the cross they'd make, you know, at the spur of the moment. Yeah. And I'm like, I took a picture, I took a video, I saved the address where I delivered it. And on one of my days off, this was at this point maybe a month ago, one of my days off, it ends up being a sunny day in Oregon. And I drive down 40 minutes to this place where I delivered, knock on the door, no one answers, and I have just me and my tripod and my iPhone. Yeah. Because nowadays you can take pictures with your iPhone.
Totally.
And I was like, And I'm looking around. I'm like, I'm going to do like I did in L.A. I'm going to shoot guerrilla style. When we wanted to do like an indie film in L.A., we would just find a vacant alley or someone's porch and just shoot it real quick and then run. So I set up my tripod by this shack, and I'm just like, posing. And it's set it on 15 seconds. I run and get in my position. I can hear 15, 14, 13.
Right.
So I get about 8 shots in, and I see the person of the house, this old woman, come out, and I went, oh, I'm busted. And I went over, I go, hey, I said, I knocked on your door. No one answered. She said, I was in the back. Can I help you? And I said, my name is Bobby Spencer. I wrote a worship song. And she went, oh. And I said, and I saw your shack a month ago, and I saved it because this is the picture I want for my cover. Is it okay if is it okay if I take pictures? She said, I have a house full of musicians. I get it. She's like, go ahead.
No kidding.
And so that's the picture I sent you when we first met. That's the picture. We just kind of gave it a little watercolor effect, but I just liked it, I liked how it came out. I liked how it was just, it just came to me. I prayed about it and boom, I got this cool shot.
I like that you pray a lot, dude. I mean, even if we're venting, God is God. He's our Father. And we can vent to God. Like, God, I need, He knows what you need before you pray, but He still loves that you go to Him. Maybe you're upset. Maybe it feels hypocritical at times, but the fact that you always pray, I think that's what God always wanted. He wanted a relationship with us. He created us. Unfortunately, not everybody has a relationship with God, but He did create us. And I think when you have a relationship with God, you pray. Maybe you're venting, but you're going to Him. Hey, I think, as we wrap up this podcast, I mean, we could keep going for hours. Do you want to play part of your song? Do you want to?
Yeah, it's going to be, I'm releasing it Easter weekend, which I believe starts like April 3rd, 4 and 5.
Yeah.
And again, my Instagram is @JRobertSpencer.
Okay.
That's not J-A-Y, it's the initial J, so @JRobertSpencer. But also, I have a website called @JRobertSpencerArtist.com. Now, that website used to be jrobertspencer.com, but I didn't renew the domain.
Got it.
And when I went to renew it, someone had stolen it. And every time you go to just jrobertspencer.com, it goes to some gambling site. So everybody go to jrobertspencerartist.com. But again, I'm just now starting to promote the song. I just put a little clip on my social media feed of me actually recording it in Argentina.
Yeah. That's so
and
cool.
I probably won't play the whole song.
Play as much as you want or as little as you want.
Yeah.
I think it'd be good to have it on here, and we'll definitely get this shared before Easter.
Yeah.
To get to enjoy it.
I sure to talk a lot, but that's the coffee.
This is your show, and that's why we're here.
But I will say, you mentioned about praying. I will say that the past year, I did get an acting job, and then I got a cruise ship job, and then I went to Argentina. But finding like a real job, like the money's been dwindling since COVID, and I've been doing everything I can to keep providing. Yeah. So when the Amazon job came, I had been praying like, just, give me a job. So I get this job, and then literally I got that job around the end of November, and all through December, all through January, now we're going into March, and every night I've been praying, like every night, like, God, please bring help, financial freedom, please bring the next job. And then we were having issues with paying rent, and I was like, please, God, let me talk to the landlord and have them lower the rent, help out in some way. And literally what happened within the last week, I had a conversation with our landlord. I didn't even give her the number that I had prayed about. I won't even mention the number on air. Yeah. But she said, would it help if I brought it down to boom? And I was like, that's the number in my head. I was like, that's the number I've been praying for. And I was like, that would really be helpful. And then like 48 hours after that, I'm driving the truck, they're delivering, and I stop on lunch, and there's, boom, 5 offers for 5 cruise ship gigs. What? Each one pays a significant amount for me to go do my guitar, my solo show that I wrote during COVID while I was waiting for unemployment in Oregon for over a year to give me my money, my manager was like, Bobby, write a one-man show. If anybody can do it, you. Yeah. So I wrote 7,000 Miles to Broadway. And I just got 1, 2, 3. So I'm going at the end of March, I'm going to Polynesia on a cruise ship for a week. And then the rest of the gigs are Hood River on the ACL line, going to Kentucky on the ACL line, American Cruise Line. And then I'm going back to Hood River. And then the Midtown Men and I have 4 concerts coming up. So, and I've been praying about this. So it really does go to show when you're feeling kind of low, that's when God says, here you go. It's true.
God provides, man. That's
true. It. So, so I do believe in prayer and sticking with it, just because I mean, I've had people also say, it's like, maybe the title of your song's too long. It's like, well, again, it's like, look, that's when God says, here you go. That's when God says, here you go. You're having a bad day. Here's a good day. Yeah. Here you go. Your fund's kind of low. Here's some money. Yeah. Here you go. You want to, help promote your song about me. Yeah. Meet Buddy.
Yeah. Hey, whatever God wants to do, God, he just wants to fellowship with us. He wants communion with us, and prayer is how we do that. He gives us his word. That's how he speaks to us, and then we speak to him through prayer. Yeah, and it's pretty awesome.
And lastly, I have still so much to say. You know something?
Yeah,
I see numbers all the time, and I see this all the time. 1221, 1221. No matter what, 1221. And yesterday on my verse of the day, Pastor Rob was like, Bobby, get the Bible verse, verse of the day. I was like, yeah. So I've been doing. So Romans 12:21 comes up.
Swear.
Do not be overcome by evil, but overcome evil with good. And I was like, why didn't I look up 12:21 earlier? I'd keep seeing numbers all my life. I would see, because I was born February 12th, 212. I always see 2s and 12s. And so this 12:21 always comes up. So yesterday when it was the verse, I was like, oh, okay, Romans 12:21.
There you go.
There you go.
That's a great verse,
That's the best 12:21 I've ever seen.
Best one.
Yeah.
It's funny, I wake up in the morning, I'll wake up at 3 o'clock, but my clock will say 3:23. So Romans 3:23 is a verse I know, or Romans 6:23. It's just funny how numbers do show up. So, yeah. Well, Bobby, I want to hear a little bit of your song, and we'll share it with the world, man.
Thanks, man.
So
thanks, buddy.
Yeah.
Thanks, everybody. Yeah. It's still early for my voice. All your days spent trying to figure out which path to take, what's the route for you? I've been there too. Does it feel that life has nothing left? Maybe now's the time to redirect your view. Yeah, it's true. 'Cause I know all too well about the pain and loss. And I know all too well it's hard to lift your heart. But in times like these, it's always good to know. With all the ups and downs and every high and low, that's when God says, here you go. That's when God says, here you go. That's when God says, here you go.
Boom.
That's the one.
Beautiful. It's going to be awesome, dude.
Thank you.
So your song has been recorded.
Yeah.
It's live. Where can we buy your song? Where can we get it? Spotify?
It'll be available on all digital platforms.
Yeah, okay.
Right around Easter weekend. About a week before Easter weekend, I'll be promoting it more on social media. Okay. But literally, you'll find it on Spotify. You'll find it on YouTube, on Amazon, on Apple. It'll be on nowadays, it's on every digital platform, thank goodness. Yeah. I really hope people check it out.
Yeah. Well, Bobby, it's been a real privilege having you here. Honestly, it's been so cool to hear your story and let you unpack that. I bet we'll have you on here again sometime in the future because you have a lot more to unpack. I think we just got started, really.
Yeah.
So,
I'm long-winded.
You know what? I love that, though. I really do, man. I love it. I love it. Well, hey, thanks for being here this week. I hope you've enjoyed having Bobby on here. His song will be coming out around Easter. We'll make sure you know about that. We'll put in the show notes. Bobby, any last words, any last songs you want to sing? Any last thoughts?
Last thoughts? I don't know. I've said so much. I'm just so appreciative that you took time to spend with me today. It means a lot. I really do want to push this song as much as possible. The only message I really want is for this song, I just hope that if people aren't feeling good, if they're feeling down, if they really are feeling low, if they don't know where to go, I hope this song will hit the right button for them. Like the button, like the light switch flicked on for me when I was in that Nashville apartment in 2001 when I was so down. I do believe that music is such a powerful healer. Music is therapy. Melody is therapy. And I feel like this message is a God-given message, and I hope that people can feel it and share it.
Yeah. Well, we're going to help. We're going to help with that however we can. So thanks for being here. Thanks for being here this week, and we'll see you next week. God bless.